Good evening and welcome to the show. We have such an awesome and amazing night of entertainment planned up ahead. On this episode, how cookies and photography can make or break your event. Cocktail Hour starts right now. Good evening. Welcome back inside. It is, of course, the Cocktail Hour podcast. My name is Phil Rossi alongside my man. There he is, Howie D. What's up, Howie?
How you been, man?
Good.
It's been a minute.
It has. Where you been?
No, it's not us. It's him.
Oh, it's him. Hey, Wolf.
Just go ahead. Lay it on him.
So, Wolf, we're on Instagram a lot, and we're not happy. I'll tell you that.
For those who don't know who Wolf is,
he's our producer.
He's our producer behind the scenes, and he's our guy, but he kind of crossed the line a little bit.
He was cheating.
Yes, exactly.
And we don't like
betrayed. I'm not going to lie.
I don't know what I did. So you were at an event with, should we name him?
No, a colleague of ours.
A colleague, yes. He also works with us. And there was a video. He was in it. So were you. And it wasn't. And here's the thing, right? Like, his
name rhymes with ref.
And here's my issue with it. It's not even like you're out doing your job, because we understand that. But for me, at least, I don't know about Howie, it was the giggling and then behind the scenes that kind of irked me a little bit, because it was like you're having fun.
I'm having fun at your events too.
But we're a priority.
Right.
It's like family. We felt like you were cheating on us.
Right. Yeah, we'll talk to the higher ups about this.
Yeah, you should.
Because our first
fake
text.
the funk, bro. You could just fake that you want to be there. Come on.
Does it seem like I don't have a good time with you guys?
No.
It's like it seems like you have an okay time, but it was a little much. It was too giggly for me.
I'd have to see it.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Why are you stuttering? Usually people when they stutter it's because they're hiding something.
You know.
Yeah, drink up. Yeah.
And you know, Ref has a lot of video, so he's got to have it somewhere.
This isn't about me.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay, Wolf.
Whatever.
Simmer on it. All right, so let's welcome in.
Well, first of all,
Okay.
It took him, before he introduced this guest, it took forever to get him on the show. Forever.
I know.
Like, I felt like I was dealing with a celebrity. He's like, contact. I was like, for real? For real.
Yeah, you can't.
Wait,
even,
hold on.
You
Before
can't
we
even
introduce
directly
him-
contact
But
him.
before we introduce him, I got something for you, Phil.
Okay.
Here you go. So we can enjoy.
Thank you, Howie.
You're welcome. Welcome, Scott from SMJ.
Hey, Scott, how are
What's up,
you?
bro?
You're eating cookies in front of me. How dare you?
Oh, do you like cookies?
No, I hate them. I totally hate them. I totally don't have my profile photo with cookies or anything like that.
Hang on a second. Hang on.
are good.
Hang on. We didn't forget about you. Hang on.
Howie's got something for you.
Oh, okay. Oh, you guys are too extra. I love it. Oh, my goodness.
So these are much
No.
better than.
That is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And
Is that the real deal?
that is the real deal. Wow, they look way bigger in real life. That's what she said, right?
Hey.
So get this. Truthfully, my wife and I were going to come to Lancaster on Saturday. We were going
Right.
to do some stuff with our son and all that. Guess where we were going to go?
Taylor's
Really?
tip.
Yeah, we were
That's
gonna-
awesome.
So you want to save it now? Do you want? It's yours.
Oh no,
do
I'm
what you
totally.
want with it.
I mean,
you
I'll eat
can-
all of them. I'll leave my wife one. No,
You can
just
eat it
kidding.
during the show. I mean, that's fine.
But
No.
I've heard that they are one of the best chocolate chips in the Lancaster area.
tell-
I haven't tried them yet, so I'm
the-
pumped. So thank you. That's
And I was
huge.
saying this to Phil. I was like, "There's no way he hasn't had this. He's a
haven't.
connoisseur on the chocolate. You want to try it now?
No,
I kind of want you to try it. At
All
least
right,
take a
let's
bite.
try
Give it- Since you are the connoisseur,
we got to go with the traditional.
the traditional
Yeah, they look awesome. And the
Wow.
company again, Howie?
Taylor
Taylor
chip.
chip.
They're actually
They
right
have a few
around the corner.
locations. Yeah,
Yes.
they have a few.
Yeah, I mean they look like honestly look fake.
Oh,
Like they would be in a case
that's
and you
legit.
would want one.
Is
Yeah.
it good?
That's legit.
So,
Good.
dude, David Portnoy, is that his name?
Dave
Portnoy?
Portnoy. Yep.
Portnoy.
Portnoy.
You got to rate it.
Oh man, put me on the spot like that. All right. So can't give it a rookie score.
Yeah, right, exactly.
All right.
I was worried you might like.
I'm gonna go with 8.2.
Ooh, that's good.
Have you ever had a 10?
I don't think a 10 exists. It's that's a unicorn. Like,
Yeah, you're right.
Fair enough.
we bite into it and it's just like your head freaking explodes.
So what is the obsession with cookies?
I don't know. It's just been something that, like everybody has their go-to sweet or food or something like that. Like you guys have to have one, right? Like something.
Candy. I do have a candy fetish. And
Okay.
it's like, it
You're
varies.
more than a candy fetish.
Yes. Yes. I do have another fetish.
Oh, we don't want to hear
We
it.
don't need to hear about that on this show.
It's a great way to transition to the word you want to say.
Foreplay.
It's always got to work its way in there
Gotta-
somewhere.
Somehow, some way, the word foreplay. So foreplay.
Oh no. It's always he always has to like explain it. Like we've gone over this at least 4 episodes now.
But he hasn't heard it.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you understand what foreplay is?
I do.
Well,
That's what we're doing right now.
kind of, yes. But the concept of how I use it in weddings.
Okay.
So I look at dinner as foreplay. I play music to the guests to kind of gauge them on how they're going to be the night. So it's foreplay. I play with them. In hindsight,
I remember you
enough.
describing this to me before too. I remember.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, you tell everybody. I think you say
Yeah.
it on the show. I think you say it like at weddings probably.
But let me tell you how I actually first met Scott.
Okay, all right, good. I thought you were still stuck
no,
on
it's
that.
it's a fun it's a kind of cool story actually. Do you remember the story?
I don't know if I remember the first time I worked with you.
Not the first time where it came to fruition. How I was like, all right, this guy. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
So we're in the farm in the basement eating.
Oh, yeah, Farmer Eagles
Yes.
Ridge there.
yeah.
Okay.
You remember the story now?
A little bit.
Okay. So I've followed Scott for a while on his Instagram. It's SMJ on Instagram.
SMJ
Photos.
yep.
SMJ Photos. Check him out. So I was like, wow. I said, this dude has some really artsy, like this is something you typically don't see a photographer in the wedding industry posting. I was like,
Yeah, it looks really the stuff like the photos always
So-
always look cool.
I was up in New York and I was working with this photographer. Her name was Susan. Similarities. And I said to him, I said, bro, I was up in New York and I worked with this woman. Her name was, and at the time I couldn't really remember. And then Scott's like, oh, Susan
Stripling.
Susan. She goes, and
Yep.
what was your response?
I was just like, that's an honor because I actually learned all my photography skills very early on from her.
Yeah. So it's
So-
crazy that I saw that and him and not even putting two and
Right.
two together.
But Scott, before that, did you have any experience in photography?
No. So I was a teacher for 10 years. So I taught 7th grade special education math. And I built my photography business up in the meantime while I was doing that. And it just kind of eventually took over and became much, much more than I ever thought it would. I had no formal training. And I literally just picked up a camera one day. I threw it in manual mode, which is kind of unheard of. And I just went, oh, this is just a giant math equation. So if you turn this dial, well, that means that that's going to change this by that much. And so then this affects it that way.
So for you, the photography became more like a math problem that you had to solve.
It's a math problem. And so many photographers, of course, are true creatives, which they can't wrap their heads around that part.
Right.
And I get that. Most people don't think about it the way I do. And it's just been one of those weird things where I think about it in a very scientific and mathematical manner rather than just like, oh, I'm just going to play around with this and see how this works. It's that it's like very calculated.
So is it every photo that you're calculating, or like once you kind of have the settings into place, you kind of roll that way?
I pretty much kind of have most of my stuff memorized for ballpark where I'm going to be. And then from there, it's like, okay, well, it's maybe a little bit brighter than I want. So therefore, I'm going to change this because it'll affect it in this way.
Okay.
So,
Because I remember you telling me the story. I was like, I would never thought. I'm like this. To me, I'm the guy who's gonna like point and shoot, right?
Right.
Typical.
I mean, that's how
person with
most
a
of us
camera.
are.
Exactly. But like, and I said to him, what style? Like, if I was to describe a style to a client for you, what would it be? And what was your answer?
I remember what my answer was back then. I mean, now I
No.
describe it as creative photojournalism.
Yes, that was it.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm glad I'm consistent at least.
Yes, I love it. So, like I said, like what I guess amazed me more about Scott too is like, most photographers you see tripods of lights around venues,
Right.
and I get why. Scott's the polar opposite. Less light's better for him, which I'm like,
Now, does that factor into the math thing, or is that just a completely different avenue?
I mean, it really depends. I do vary up for different scenarios. It depends on the venue. It depends on the couple even.
Okay.
Because I will change it up and shoot slightly different. Because some couples don't like just how kind of dark and moody I can make it sometimes. So in that case, I'll brighten it up just a little bit then. But it really all depends. The one big thing I do differently, I think, than a lot of people is I always have an assistant with me. And like, you guys have your own assistants at your jobs, and
Right.
it's invaluable for my job. They literally hold a light and follow me around all day. They help out my couple with the day. And it's basically, it ensures that I can have light wherever I want to and basically create like my own little spotlight effect.
So going backwards, you were a math teacher.
Yes.
For how many years?
10 years.
And it was special ed, if I'm not correct.
Yep.
What made you jump from it's time for me to leave teaching kids, which is a valuable, I think, thing to this community. Is like teaching kids is something like some people have it, some people don't, and to do it, I think, is an honor. And leaving that to go into photography, what made you make that switch?
Oh man, I don't have enough time to tell the full story. In short, I met a couple in 2017. They found me online. We had no prior connection, anything like that. In short, the bride had been battling cancer since childhood. And so I got to see, for the engagement session, she was going through chemo treatments, and so she didn't have hair, and she had to wear a wig. And I saw all the kind of intricacies behind the scene that I had never really gotten to see somebody go through before. And the wedding day rolled around, and she actually had a real hair. Wedding day was amazing. Just a couple that like lived life to the fullest. And I was like, wow. Like, I felt like that day, the photos I took just felt different.
Yeah, that's cool.
And the couple was just like, yeah, I want to photograph people like this, because I could tell how much they appreciated it and just the difference it made in their lives as well. And unfortunately, sadly, down the road, she actually passed away less than a year after the wedding.
Wow.
And man, it's a tough story to tell every time.
Yeah.
Basically, on the 1-year anniversary of what would have been their 1-year wedding anniversary, I flew out to Hawaii with her then husband, and I photographed the whole family spreading rashes on the beach where they first met on that day.
Wow.
Wow.
And that was like her last wish to me of like, you need to go and do this. And I was like, I don't know if I can. Like, I want to, but like, wow. And it was such an honor, and it was kind of crazy to watch somebody go through engagement, wedding, and gone in a matter of just a few years. And it gave me a lot of perspective about what's important in life. And while I loved working with kids, the politics got in the way of that. And that was what eventually was just like, I love the kids. I want to stay in it for them, but I feel like I can't make the impact I want to because of politics. Right. And so therefore at that point it was like, well, I think I want to, go for this full time. And it's honestly been the best decision I've ever made, and I couldn't love my job anymore. So,
and seeing that something you never did, and the art you put in it, to me, it's like amazing, because it's like something, when I see your work, I'm like, this guy has to be doing this forever. And you have an eye, and
Thank you.
and it's a creative eye, and a lot of people don't have that.
But do you think, like, so you did the math thing. Do you think you could take somebody, again, who has no experience, just anybody, and teach them the equation to make it work? Because we always have this debate, too, with like, musicians and DJs and MCs and photography, like anything, really.
There's certain things that can't be taught.
Right.
Like there is a certain thing, like, you can try to teach creativity, but obviously it's up to that person a lot on their own.
Right.
But the basics, I believe you can.
Okay.
I truly believe that you could teach anybody.
Agreed.
Right.
But to elevate it, it's
Elevating, it's the whole different part.
You gotta have something.
That's
You
where,
naturally
they say
something.
you got to put in 10,000 hours to master something. Like,
Right.
that's where you really have to put in the time to figure it out. Just like you guys put your own spin whenever you're at a wedding. It's you each have your own ways of going about things.
Exactly.
And that's what makes you guys unique, and it's why people want to work with you. And the same thing goes for me then, I think.
agreed. Because like, what made you say, okay, I want to take that journalistic aspect of art, the art of photos versus the standard photo shoot? Because I mean, you do standards, not that it's of course, but I feel like that artistic aspect, like, where did that come from?
I honestly can't really even know looking back. I was just,
It's like you shoot something and you're like, that looks great.
yeah.
And then you shoot something else and you're like, I don't really like that vibe. So
Yeah,
you
I don't know.
what I mean?
I looked around at what was out there, and I was just like, I saw some really great stuff, but most of it was just like, this is just kind of boring. And I was just like, there's personality like all throughout our lives. And we're
Right.
all, of course, we're all drawn to personality and things that are unique. And I'm like, well, why isn't this happening in wedding photography? Like, why can't it be something that it's not supposed to be per se? Like,
Right.
why can't we rock the boat a little bit and just be like, okay, sure, this is what it was then. Let's make it this now, though. And who says it can't be that? Like, the only people who say it can are people who are just literally talking out of their own butts about it. And it's just
Right.
like, okay, like
And
what makes you the expert in that? Like, we can all change it up and make it whatever we want.
And that's what I've always had this conversation with Phil about music DJing. It's like, yeah, we all play the same songs, right? But it's how you present those songs, how you mix them, how
Yep.
your creativity. Like, you could teach anybody to mix songs. It's not hard. Reading the crowd, playing the right songs, and making them blend together is where the creative aspect comes in. There are DJs that will just play, and that's fine. That's what their style is, and that's fine. And I don't hate on anybody for their craft, but I feel like I like the artsy of it. I like playing things that people are like, did he just play that? Like, just coming out of, like random. Like, and the same with your pictures. Like, I'll look at them like, how did he come up with that? And I'm looking, I'm like, I would have never thought to shoot that way.
Well, and that's the other thing too. Like, do you work with the couples and pre-plan stuff before, or sometimes is it you're just like you're at a venue and you're like, oh wait, I kind of see this. Like, let's try this. And are they down? Like, do you kind of work with them before?
Yeah. So, I mean, I got to feel out each couple, of course. And some, I literally have some couples who are just like, look, we don't want anything creative. We just want you to capture the moments as they happen. And I will go completely hands off and just let the day unfold.
Right.
So that's one way I can let it happen. And then I have other couples who are like, hey, we want to give you 2 hours to go absolutely wild and you do whatever you want. We love everything. And I'm like, okay.
Right.
I love both sides. Honestly, I like a little bit more in between because that way there's a little bit less pressure on me because obviously, you know, and somebody's just looking at you and is like, make art. And it's like, it's not that easy. You know, there's a process to it all. And after a certain amount of time, my creative brain needs a little bit of a break. But no, it's generally all on the spot. It's whatever inspires me in that moment. And it's just trying to just look at it and be like, okay, this is what my eye sees. Now let me either darken down the scene, let me add something in here that starts changing how it looks to the eye. And you're right. The goal is to stop the scroll, essentially. That's what I always remind myself is like, if somebody's scrolling through photos and it's like, yep, that looks the same, what's that?
Right. Yes.
You know, and it's like same thing when you guys play songs. You know, it's just like, cool, yeah, this song. And then you hear something blending in. You're like, what?
I've never
What
heard
is that?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they realize, they're like, oh, that's great. Yeah. And then they just start going to it. And it's just like, that is the true talent that I think couples are willing to pay big money for because it's intangible. It's completely something that's our 10,000 hours right there of refining this talent that we have and making, you know, something out of nothing that just is not there before.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right, Howard.
What's that?
Oh, I thought I thought.
What's that? So here's speaking of creativity, we want to see what you could do with this.
Wow.
Yeah, it's disposable. What'd you get, Howie? A Fujifilm?
Fujifilm. So I was like, Scott's creative. I want to see how creative he is, because if somebody came up to me and said, "Here's music and
here's a
Fisher
CD.
Price turntable, what could you do?" And I actually seen this on Jimmy Fallon with the Roots.
Oh, yep.
And they play
the
like
kids' instruments. Yep.
kids' instruments.
Oh, yeah.
And it sounds great. So what could Scott do with
just
this?
gotta put me on the spot like that. Man, I haven't touched one of these since I was a kid. Like,
I don't think I've ever touched one of those, Scott. I'll be honest with you.
I do see sometimes at weddings, like couples will, or like on vacations and stuff.
Yep.
Like I see people, maybe it's more of like a nostalgic thing now. The people will grab these and use them, but I mean, obviously you're not going to use that at a wedding.
So I do have a question, and I see this as we're setting
Should I
up.
wind
Like,
it now?
you can. What, as a photographer, first look or no first look? Do you like doing pictures ahead of time? Do you like doing them during cocktail hour? How? Because I see, and we're watching. Because I'm like this, you know, you're taking them away and this and that. So what do you prefer?
All right, you guys said I can curse, right?
You can do whatever you want, man.
So what I always tell my couples is, it's your day. You're the ones that are footing the bill. So quite frankly, at the end of the day, in the kindest way possible, I don't give a f***. All right? So that's what I tell them. Now,
like
at the end
this
of the
guy.
day,
Yeah, he's
at
good.
the end of the day, I tell them, if you want more time with your family and friends, which is, don't get me wrong, it's probably the reason you're having this wedding in the first place, is
Right.
you want to have all these memories with them. Well, then you should probably be doing a first look, because number one is, I mean, for my own sake, or couples that really do care about the photos, and especially the creative ones, I need time. You know,
Right.
that's the number one thing that a photographer needs on the wedding day, is they need time. So when we're doing it after a ceremony, we have an hour to get the whole family, wedding party, and the couple done, which leaves me with maybe 10 to 15 minutes for the couple if I'm lucky. And obviously that's not enough time to really do anything with. I can't get to multiple locations. I can't do anything like that. So therefore, yeah, the photography for them will suffer a little bit because of that fact. So with doing the first look then, well, they can go enjoy cocktail hour. They get more photos as well because we have more time built into it. And yeah, I tell them, like, I would rather see you mingling with your guests, laughing, smiling, having a good time, and us capturing that. And that's you with your people, which is what you wanted in the first place.
It kind of also helps us too, because we have some weddings where, you know, the photographer will take the couple and the bridal party away, even after dinner. And you're just like, man,
Well,
I mean, how many photos, you know, from our perspective, because our job is try to get you to dance and have fun.
Well, the money shot's that golden hour, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, typically sunset, you know, we're always keeping an eye out for sunset, see if we have something good. If not, then we're looking out for some night photos at some point, you know, where the couple's feeling good but not too good, because we don't want to wait too long. So it's a delicate balance, for sure. Like, I know I'm always just, I tell the couple essentially, I want to get you out before the dance floor opens.
Right.
Because once that dance floor opens, if we pull you, the energy dies.
It does.
So he knows.
I
Gets
can't
it.
lie about that. And then
We always say that. We're like, wherever the couple is, me and Howie say that all the time. Like, if you're on the dance floor, everybody's
guests
going to
are
be
gonna
on the dance floor with you. So if you're away, then it makes our job a lot tougher.
absolutely. And it's unfortunate, but like there's no getting around that. That is the truth. The couple leaves, the energy kind of dies down. And so, yeah, it's always a risk of like getting the photos that the couple wants and making them happy and fulfilling your duties versus making sure that all the guests are enjoying and the party gets going like it should.
Right.
Like I had one recently where actually it was the mother of the bride. We did photos with the couple. We took them out. It was very early on the dance floor. It was still very tame. And so we were like, look, 10 minutes, we'll get you right back in. We finished up. We brought them back downstairs. Then they started mingling with all their guests. They were down there for a good 20, 30 minutes.
Wow.
Mom comes storming down the stairways. Where are they? And I'm like, we've been done. We're doing our thing here. And she's like grabbing the groom by the ear and being like, oh, my guests are leaving, you know. And it was a really awkward situation for sure. And like, I felt for Mom. I felt for the couple. It's one of those awkward things where you're trying to make everybody happy, and there's always going to be somebody who unfortunately is a little upset at that time. So it's a delicate balance for sure.
Right. Now, we always talk about the timeline, and it's funny is, do you feel like the DJs, the photographers and videographers are always kind of shunned when it comes to the timeline? Like, you guys are not in the loop.
Oh, I built out the timeline for all my couples.
You do.
It's built out at least 3 months in advance of the wedding, minimum.
So they know the exact. I'm talking about the timeline for the DJs, from like cocktail hour to reception to all the formalities going down throughout the night.
So I always tell them, I say, when it comes to the evening, to the reception, that's totally up to you guys.
Right.
I say, look, your DJ is the one who's running the whole show in the evening. I am not the expert in that. And also, you know things about your venue and how they need to do things. Like, they might be a plated dinner, it might be buffet, they might need to have things broken up because of the way the kitchen works. Like, I don't need to know and don't want to know about all those
Yeah,
logistics.
because we always tell the photographer, videographer, like, listen, they're going to come in for intros, first dance,
Right.
then parent dances.
That's all I need
and we're
to
going
know.
to sit everybody down.
Right.
They're like, okay, cool. And they just capture it as it happens.
Yeah, that's all I need to know, and that's what I tell them is like, look, you talk to your DJ. You're talking to so many vendors.
Right.
And that's like the other thing is like they're talking to so many different vendors out there. They have so much on their mind. And it's just like, okay, guys, talk to your DJ about that. That's what they are meant to handle. They are the expert in that. And then when I show up on the day of, I'll touch base with your DJ and they can fill me in. Because also we know things are going to change on the day of. You know, they're going to be like, oh, so this person's not here. We're swapping in this person, or this group's getting excluded. Introduce them at the seats. You know, there's all kinds of changes that happen. And so it'd be silly to spend all this time talking about it when it's going to change.
Right. So I'm big on analogies, and I say the DJ, band, whoever the entertainment is the quarterback of the event, right? For the most part, they're running the show. They're calling the plays. But I also feel like all the vendors are part of the team, and I feel sometimes they get neglected, and they're not alienated, like they're not in the loop what's going on, and I feel bad. So I try to make sure that we're all on the same page. If something special is going to happen, I'm going to let you know.
That's the big thing, yeah.
Exactly. It's the line of communication. Because at the end of the day, we're all here to make this couple happy. Yes. And like the one question I get all the time from photographers, videographers, I'm Phil. You get it. Where are you going to put the best man or maid of honor for speeches? You know, my answer always
is,
where do you want them? Where do you want them?
Right. And I love that.
Right.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah. Do you want them at the sweetheart table? Or,
yeah. It's your shot, not mine.
Right. And it makes a huge difference. It really truthfully does. Because the one thing I always used to do, I used to let go for a little while. And what I've realized is that like the couple's cranking their necks to the side half the time. And what eventually ends up happening, especially if it's a long speech, they just end up looking forward. They're not even looking at the speaker anymore.
No.
And I'm like, the photos then look so disconnected because the person just looks so disinterested in what the speaker is saying. And it's really unfortunate in that case. But like, I also get it. Like, they're just like, the whole time they're like, okay, 10 minutes, my neck is locking up. I'm going to relax a little bit. And then, of course, the big joke comes or something like that. And they're just like, oh, my neck here. And they're just looking forward and everybody else is laughing. And the speaker's like, they're not reacting to this? Oh, man.
And I noticed, like, I don't know, at least for me, I'm not sure about you, Howie, but I always worry, too, about the photographer. Like, say, you know, we stand next to the, you know, best man, stand next to the groom. Maid of honor, stand next to the bride. But sometimes, you know, people like wander, they're nervous, and then they'll be behind like a big thing of like flowers, and I'm like, oh man, like the photographer trying to.
So know what I started doing now? Mic stand for speeches. Ceremony's different.
I love that.
Yeah.
I started doing it. I'm like, one is because our job is to make sure they sound good. So now if they're dropping the mic, they're pointing the mic,
they're walking around,
they're walking around, the wanderer.
It helps definitely taper it down for sure.
But and I always thought that from your perspective, it's going to look bad in your pictures. But I started seeing it more online now. I'm like, you know what? And it does make the most sense. But ceremony, always lapel.
Oh, yeah.
Always. I feel that's like the most elegant part of the wedding.
Otherwise, the officiant's eating the mic the entire ceremony.
Right, exactly.
Right.
I always feel bad for the officiant. I'm like, that's not a flattering photo right there.
Right, and I always look at other, you know, if you're posting pictures and depending on what venue you're at, and it's always a ceremony, and I'll see the mic stand, and that is where my eye draws to. Because
especially during the first kiss and stuff.
Yes.
It's just such an eyesore. Or, you know, they're trying to like toss it to the side while the couple sharing their first kiss. I'm like, you should have just left it there.
Yeah.
I'd rather try to edit it out later than you make a big scene while this is
Or they
happening.
start passing it down the line. It's like they give it to the best man. The best man gives it to the next guy. You're just like,
but the best part is when I explain that to the couples, they're like, oh my God, because they don't think about that. Those are things they don't think about. And that's why it goes back to why they hire professionals like ourselves.
Education's so important.
It is. Speaking of which, I know you have an online class.
Yeah.
So what is that all about?
Can we learn? Can we take
Can you teach us?
Probably not. No.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So basically, it's called Purpose and Process, and basically, it's, you know, obviously I've loved teaching. It's always been at the heart of what I've done.
And I was going to ask you. I was like, well, why can't you go back into teaching photography to kids now?
Well, I could, but no, they're little brats these days.
He doesn't like the kids.
No, okay.
Not all, but a lot of them.
I'm just curious. I was train of thought. I was like, but sorry.
No. So, it's just getting me back to kind of my roots there, and just getting, I mean, I always have really loved, my favorite thing about teaching was getting to see the kids having that aha moment. You know, like the light switch goes on, they're like, I get it now. And so like when I get to work with other photographers, you know, and they're like, oh, I'm really struggling with using flash here. And I go, okay, let me explain to you like this. And all of a sudden their mouth just like falls open. They're just like, I get it. And the next thing I'm like, cool, try it out. And they're doing it in a few seconds. They're just like, why did nobody explain that before like that? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Apparently, you know, we're just resonating here. It's working for you. So yeah, that's just been a big passion project of mine. And going forward, I want it to take over more and more. Like I always want to still shoot weddings, but I certainly love to be home with my family a little bit more, have a little bit more free time. And the coaching side's just been a real blast, just to help people out and watch them just level up.
It's awesome, man.
So
Much success to you, bro. I definitely, if anyone, I'm rooting for you, Ari.
well, thank
So
you.
appreciate it. So we always cheer out.
All right.
Phil, take us home.
All right, guys. Thanks so much, Scott. I appreciate you.
Of course.
SMJ.
Out.
Check them out. SMJ Photo.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Beautiful.